to make sure that it finishes off what Hurricane Katrina did not. And we're going to watch some viral videos explaining what exactly is going on with New Orleans. And then I'm going to be speaking some Japanese.
The city of New Orleans has reached the point of no return. And I'm not being doomsday. This is an article that The Guardian reported on, that even if we were to combat climate change today, the city of New Orleans days are numbered. You are unable. So for those who don't know, the city of New Orleans actually sits below sea level. So if you fly in, you're seeing the sea, and the city of New Orleans sits down at the bottom. There are a number of things that they have used, like the levee system, which is what broke during Hurricane Katrina that caused the devastation of that hurricane. Those things cost billions of dollars in order to maintain and upkeep to keep the city safe. At this point, researchers have said that this is no longer a sustainable option, and the only option that the city has is to relocate all 370,000 residents from the city. My first thought when I heard that is, well, where are they going to go? And how is the city of Louisiana, right? City of New Orleans, state of Louisiana, going to protect the Black people, which they have historically disenfranchised, to ensure that they are pretty much fucked? This is the biggest concern. Like, these are the types of things that people like myself have been screaming off of the mountaintops that we are going to face in the future if we do not do something about climate change. And we are at the point where it is too late. Of Louisiana, right? City of New Orleans, state of Louisiana, going to protect the Black people, which they have historically disenfranchised, to ensure that they are pretty much fucked. This is the biggest concern. Like, these are the types of things that people like myself have been screaming off of the mountaintops that we are going to face in the future if we do not do something about climate change. And now we are at the point where it is too late. The only option is for humans to move. I am so heartbroken by this, like, just from a personal level, of all the times, all the memories that I've had growing up, going to New Orleans and going to Louisiana. I really cannot even fathom a world without this city. But we're here. We're here now, and now we need to ensure that we have a government that is thinking about these things and going to help make solutions to make the world better, to make the climate change not as bad. We're not even in a world where it's like, let's stop climate change. We need to mitigate the disasters that climate change can cause. That is where we are at. That is the very hard, real truth. And we have got to start taking this seriously.
So I walk into the hole in the daytime. So what y'all see? What y'all see? This shit still going platinum. That is the fucking ocean. Shit's still going. It's in the daytime. Ain't nothing changed. Let me take the headphones. Now y'all remember when I was trying to tell y'all, when I found that pie hole, everybody thought it was motherfucking funny, huh? Yeah, y'all come here. Let me tell y'all what's really going on. Bitch, they say the point of no return. So y'all know what that means. Ain't no fucking returning back to New Orleans. Once this bitch go under, it is under. I told y'all a couple of months ago, that was the fucking ocean. Where I found that hole at, they got another big ass crack on the ground. When they fixed that hole, the ground crack caved in even more on the other side. What is you saying? I've been telling y'all this. This shit is over with and done. Point of no return. New Orleans relocation must start now due to sea levels. Study finds. Bitch, let's find out. Let's find out, bitch. Y'all going under. We're gonna be ship swimming with the fishes. Girl, guess what? I had got me an air mattress already, bitch. I already got me a life jacket. I got me a tugboat. I'm ready to swim out. Ain't nothing nice. New Orleans is going under for every which reason. They need to take all the communities and relocate them because they're about to turn this bitch into something that we're not going to be able to afford to stay on. Bitch, they're going to have houses on the water. bitch. Bitch, y'all gonna be going to River Street walking on the water. Bitch, y'all about to see how it about to be a whole nother planet down here. I'm just saying, I told y'all a couple of months ago when that whole broke loose, bitch, that New Orleans was going under. That was the ocean. Nobody don't want to believe me. That is the ocean, bitch. It's the ocean. It was not the river. It's the ocean, bitch. We gonna be underwater, girl. Get your air mattress ready. Get your motherfucking life jackets ready. Get your boots ready, bitch. Get your rain boots ready. Get everything you need ready, cause bitch is about to go platinum. I see what I see.
Guys, I have something to say about this. Y'all see how close at sea level New Orleans is? Like, that was a cruise ship. That's, first of all, climate change, right? This is what people have been warning about for how long now? But anyway, I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about something supernatural when I saw that, because I'm like, wait a minute. Do you guys know how New Orleans is like, it's surrounded by so much mystery and supernatural lore? Like, you have the voodoo and hoodoo that people say are going on in there, all of these strange occurrences. And it got me thinking, like, why is it that so many crazy things happen in places that are surrounded by ocean? You guys already know how I feel like there are demonic marine spirits, right? I know it sounds crazy, but I'm connecting the dots. I'm like, you know how people say a lot of times demons reside in the water? If the reason why there's so much supernatural stuff, for example, right? Let me tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Because I can do a series on this, but I don't want to spend too long on it. We have the Sultan Palace massacre, where a Middle Eastern man rented out a mansion with a whole bunch of people. Like, he rented it out and had a whole bunch of lavish parties. Next day, people go and check on that mansion and everyone is found brutally unalived. To this day, no one knows what actually happened, from my understanding. Have the Casket Girls, you have the Lalaurie Mansion, and you guys, if you don't know about Delphine Lalaurie, she was a slave owner and she used to do horrible, despicable, diabolical things to enslaved individuals under her care, under her tyranny. Things that I'd have to, like I said, it would have to be a whole other video, but so many things. And surrounding all of these instances, people are reporting seeing shadowy figures and just feeling a dark presence around what has been happening. And I'm like, what if it's like a principality over it? Like, you guys know that there's principalities over many things, many areas. What if that's the reason why New Orleans is so spiritually heavy? Am I tripping? Like, you guys know I always like to just think outside the box, but is that not weird? As always, make sure you like and follow. Comment down below if you guys want a series diving into all of these spiritually terrifying things that have happened in New Orleans history.
So basically, I see a lot of people going down the rabbit hole and they speaking about New Orleans being below sea level. Yes, we know the city of New Orleans have always been below sea level. If you, somebody that's still around a levee, if you was to go walk on your levee and you see a ship or a boat passing, you was.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Miss B. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Welcome to the late night. What goes on the replay. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We are currently watching something about New Orleans and how it's sinking. But what she's about to say, and why I'm interested in it, because this is where my mother was born, and I always wanted to go back there, uncle and stuff like that. But she's also going to mention my state, New York. Let's get back into it. Please make sure you are liking this video. If you are watching it on the replay, if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will be going more into this type of stuff in the next couple of weeks.
See that you the same height as the ships that's passing. Maybe a lot of people don't see it that way because they don't stay around the levee and they probably never experienced to know, like, yes, we are really below sea level. I say this to say hurricane season is approaching, right? And we know that mostly in New Orleans, the streets, the roads, the highways, we deal with the issue of the streets and everything cracking, right? I guess due to the streets cracking is because we below sea level. And I'm assuming that the heat have something to do with it as well. A lot of people you might see post videos of a sinkhole and water running through a sinkhole in New Orleans too. But if New Orleans is going to be below sea level, in the next few years, they say a decade will be underwater. What about Miami? And what about New York? So what's going to happen to the people of New Orleans if we have to relocate? So that means we branching off to different areas. Like, I feel like the culture, like, what we do? Like, what we do, y'all? What we going to do? What are we going to do? And I always just feel like they always just try to get rid of New Orleans. That's what I think. Like, seriously, I always think that they always try to get rid of New Orleans. I don't think we know how serious our culture is. But y'all let me know in the comments. And all this is basically for entertainment purpose. I'm only on here to bring awareness to my friends for educational purposes only. Y'all like, share, comment, and repost. And yes, NOLA, New Orleans, is trending. But like I said, if New Orleans is going to be underwater in the next decade, what about New York? What about Miami? I'm going to call y'all back. Pick up the phone. Okay.
I don't know if anyone said this before, but isn't it kind of interesting that New Orleans is the most like supernatural city, a lot of paranormal stuff going on there, pretty haunted, and very spiritual. And then it is the city that is literally built into the ocean, so much so that it's below sea level to the point where people are saying that it's going to be gone within 10 years. Mind you, the ocean is basically the most spiritual haunted place in the whole entire world. So the one city in America that is built literally in the ocean is also the most haunted city. I don't know. Anyone else make that connection, or is it just me?
So this is how you know New Orleans is below sea level, because I'm walking up the street and a ship is passing like it's a car passing. Mind you, I'm below the ship. I'm looking up at the ship because the water is higher than the ground.
Yo, look at this water. New Orleans is gonna be done for in the next 10 to 20 years. This is crazy. I don't even want to go close.
Most Americans think Florida is the only state sinking into the ocean, but there's another one that's disappearing even faster, and almost nobody talks about it. It's Louisiana. You see, Louisiana is losing land at a terrifying speed. Every single hour, the state loses land equal to a football field. In just the last 100 years, over 1 million acres have vanished into the Gulf of Mexico. And this isn't just nature doing its thing. Levees built to control the Mississippi River stopped fresh mud and sand from rebuilding the coastline. On top of that, rising sea levels, powerful storms, and oil drilling have weakened the land, so the land literally collapses. Entire towns have already disappeared. Roads now lead straight into open water. Cemeteries are sinking. Some communities have been forced to abandon homes that existed for generations. What's even scarier is the prediction. Scientists warn that by 2100, huge parts of southern Louisiana could be underwater permanently, including areas near New Orleans.
Bet y'all didn't know part of Louisiana is below sea level, and people actually live there. Y'all know where that's at? Little town called New Orleans, like that. One of the greatest food cities in the world is basically a little bowl with some levees around that. Pump the water out, you got your dry ground, build the city, allons manger, laissez les bon temps rouler. And if it wasn't for the little levees that protect the city, it'd actually be underwater. It wouldn't be a city. Y'all knew that? So next time you're in New Orleans, think of it as a little crater that water was pumped out. Make sure you got you some floaties with you next time you're on a trip.
New Orleans sits in a bowl 13 feet below sea level, protected by 350 miles of levees that failed catastrophically during Katrina. The Army Corps spent $14 billion rebuilding them with 100-foot steel walls driven deep into bedrock. But here's the kicker. The city keeps sinking 2 inches every year while sea levels rise. Those billion-dollar walls, they're racing against time itself. New Orleans isn't just fighting hurricanes anymore. It's fighting physics.
Scientists say New Orleans has passed the point of no return, urges relocating residents. This is a headline from Democracy Now! Underneath it, someone wrote, "I want to believe articles like this, but it just makes me think about billionaire investors buying up the property that all the locals leave behind, and I don't like it." So, the grim reality that needs to be faced quickly is the fact that southern Louisiana is already losing a football field of land every 100 minutes. This shoreline is going to migrate another at least 100 kilometers inland over the next decade. Researchers call this coastline the most physically vulnerable coastline in the world. What the commenter suggests is not paranoid on any level, though. This is a peer-reviewed study that was published in Environmental Research. After Katrina, property speculators absolutely moved in. Within a year of the storm, the New Orleans housing market was hotter than ever before. Speculators would buy flooded properties, flip them and cash out. Rents then rose 33%, while income in Louisiana stagnated. Because of this, the African American population of New Orleans fell. Hundreds of thousands of Black residents who left after Katrina never came back. Real Network News called this captured by investors. Before Katrina, New Orleans had a Black population of approximately 325,000, one-third of the city. By 2024, the Black population had fallen to roughly 204,000, a loss of more than 120,000 people. In the same period, the white population declined by 10,000. Black residents were substantially less likely than white residents to return. A year after the storm, only 40% of Black residents had returned to the metropolitan area compared to 67% of white residents. Those who returned faced rents 40% higher than they were before the storm. In New Orleans and across the United States, homes in Black neighborhoods have been systematically undervalued for generations. When the federal government stepped in after Katrina with its Road Home program, the $11 billion federal housing recovery scheme, the scheme was structured so that the grants were based on your pre-storm property value. Even though the cost of repairing flood damage was identical, Black homeowners received smaller grants. 20 years on, the lower 9th Ward has 1/3 of the population it had in 2005. Block after block of empty, boarded homes. The first slave ships arrived in Louisiana 1 year after New Orleans was founded, in 1719. By 1741, enslaved Africans outnumbered white settlers 4-1. The infrastructure of this city was designed around serving extraction, not protecting nature. The Mississippi River was straitjacketed with levees, cutting off the sediment flow that had maintained the delta for millennia. Without this sediment flow, the land compacts and sinks and the sea level rises. This engineering decision to contain the river was made to protect agriculture and shipping routes. And doing this put New Orleans on a slow countdown. Then the oil and gas industry made it substantially worse. They carved canals through the wetlands for their pipes and access routes. These canals bring salt water in from the Gulf, and this is destroying what's left of the wetlands. This canal, the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet, is what funneled Katrina's storm surge directly into the lower 9th Ward. This was built for gas and oil commercial shipping. Between the river management and the fossil fuel industry, Louisiana has lost over 5,000 square kilometers of coastal land just since 1930. And the people who paid for this with their homes, their health, and their lives are overwhelmingly Black Americans on low income. There is an 85-mile stretch between New Orleans and Baton Rouge along the Mississippi. It was once called Plantation County. It is now called Cancer Alley. There are over 150 petrochemical plants, oil refineries, and chemical facilities in this block. And the communities that surround it are all African American. In St. James's Parish, 87% of the residents are Black. UN human rights experts have declared this environmental racism. Residents here face elevated cancer rates, respiratory diseases, and reproductive health damage. These plants were deliberately put beside Black communities from the 1940s onwards. ExxonMobil is the single largest operation in Cancer Alley. This Baton Rouge refinery has been running consistently since 1909, making it one of the largest refining and petrochemical complexes in the world. It is top of the list for small particulate matter emissions. About 20 miles outside New Orleans, Shell have their Shell Norco manufacturing complex. This has operated for nearly a century. In 2018, the EPA found Shell had violated clean air laws for over a decade. They settled. Koch Industries are another one of the primary petrochemical operators in this corridor. Those are the top 3 biggest operations in Louisiana. In the same vicinity, you also have Denka, the Japanese chemical company. They produce chloroprene, which is a carcinogen. Their plant at John the Baptist Parish has produced cancer rates 50 times the national average in the surrounding community. Then you have Mosaic, who run 2 massive fertilizer plants in St. James Parish, the Uncle Sam complex and the Faustina plant. Then in the Donaldsonville complex in the Ascension Parish, you have CF Industries, and they are the largest nitrogen fertilizer plant in North America. Then there's this. This is a Taiwanese plastics company called Formosa Plastics. They applied for federal grants to build a $9.4 billion petrochemical complex in St. James Parish in the 5th District, in a neighborhood that is 87% Black. This is live. As of May 2026, advocates helped push back against the facility. Also in St. James is the Yuhong chemical plant. This is a Chinese-owned methanol plant. Methanol is a colorless, volatile, highly toxic alcohol, historically known as wood alcohol. It is used in the production of formaldehyde and plastic. It is made from gas. It is mostly used for windscreen wipers and antifreeze, and as fuel in racing cars. Essential industry. And in the same corridor, there's also Ergon Energy, who have just expanded by adding a $200 million oil terminal in the same stretch. Between 2022 and 2025, these facilities have released over 620 million metric tons of CO2. That is the equivalent of 140 coal plants running all year. And there is planning approved for at least another 19 plants. This was all historically plantation land. It still is. It's the plantation of plantations of plants. Their goal is to kill all plants. So, if New Orleans is on borrowed time, why are there 19 more plants being added? That industry sits along this levee-protected industrial corridor that is slightly elevated directly on the riverbank. As in, all of this manipulating of the environment was for these plantations. The infrastructure that is destroying everything else was built and is maintained for them. The infrastructure, the pipelines, the terminals, the rail connections, the port access, the levees is the reason that they are there. When the region does flood, these plants get protected by the federal government, who sees them as high-value economic infrastructure. But the Black communities wedged between the plants and the river, they get flooded. As of February 2026, CF Industries, Air Products, Clean Hydrogen Works, and St. Charles Clean Fuels are all planning new blue ammonia plants in the Cancer Alley corridor. Blue ammonia plants are a continuation of fossil fuel operations dressed up as clean energy. In the last 5 years, more than 20 blue ammonia plants have been proposed nationally throughout the United States. The 4 largest of those are in Louisiana. In January 2026, Trump's EPA reversed regulations that would have finally constrained these plants' emissions. The industry is not retreating, it is doubling down. This industry is betting that the residents will leave in chaos, the land value will collapse, insurance will vanish, the government will offer inadequate buyouts, and the plants will keep running on the protected levee-adjacent ground. These plants want these communities gone. Displacement is a feature, not a bug, but that doesn't contradict the reality of the physics. Sea levels are rising. Both of these things are true. The plants are on levee-protected ground, but eventually they will succumb also. At which point, those losses will be socialized. Louisiana is not physically doomed the way an asteroid strike would doom it. There is a political choice being made to let it drown. Miami Beach is getting water pumps. Mar-a-Lago got a new seawall. A choice was made not to protect New Orleans.
A child born today will live to see New Orleans become effectively uninhabitable, according to a new study released a couple of weeks ago. This is a combination of the fact that New Orleans itself is already below sea level and the coastline is eroding so quickly and so little is being done to stop it that they say it's beyond a point of no return. So children born today will live to see it slowly become uninhabitable due to frequent flooding, so frequent that no one will really be able to practically live there. And a few decades after that, the city itself will eventually become completely inundated by the Gulf of Mexico. It goes to show that climate change is real. It's happening all around us right now. And many countries in the world are struggling to do something about it, while the United States, unfortunately, is actually actively going backwards.
Man, the truck sinking in our face. Look at the ground in our face. Look at that man truck. Son, I see that thing going in. Man, the truck sinking in our face. Look at the ground in our face. Look at that man truck. Son, I see that thing going in. Man, the truck sinking in our face. Look at the ground in our face. Look at that man truck. Son, I see that thing going in. Man.
And New Orleans really underwater, my nigga. Look at this shit. Look at my front yard, bro. We got 2 more years until this shit completely underwater where your feet can't even walk, bro.
Bro, look how deep that shit is. Bro.
This shit deep as fuck. New Orleans really underwater, bro.
Hold on, look, bro. What the?
New Orleans really underwater, bro. We need help. Fuck that levee, bro. Fuck that levee.
Yo, at this point, Louisiana, baby, Louisiana not gonna be a state no more. Look at this. At this point, y'all, we just gonna be underwater. Louisiana gonna be called the ocean. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. My whole foot. Y'all, look at that. Look at that. So y'all telling me y'all don't think Louisiana gonna be underwater probably the next 3 years? Look at this, y'all. You think somebody left the hose pipe on. Like, do this make sense? At this point, we just underwater. We're already by the water. We underwater. And Florida gonna be next. Look at this.
Do you guys remember I made a video about how sometimes people die and it really doesn't. It just jumps into another timeline. And I believe it's called infinite immortality. I truly believe that New Orleans is one of those places that is between 2 realms. I feel like with Hurricane Katrina, Louisiana, that part of Louisiana, ceased to exist. Right? Follow me. If you know what infinite immortality is, then this won't sound crazy. I feel like that place sank with Hurricane Katrina. But some people, the people that inhabited that land, literally jumped into another timeline where the city was destroyed in certain parts. When in another timeline, it ceased to exist. And I feel like water holds memory, and that place is a very, very spiritual place. And now it is lapsing. The 2 timelines are lapsing, in just my opinion, right? This is happening to a lot of cities. Like New York is sinking a little bit, but not at this rate. Like 2100 is not that far away, y'all. Like if I had a baby today, my baby would experience this. They would see this, right? My kids will see this.
I totally agree with everything that she is saying here. There is something else I want to watch that she posted as well. Shout out to the Black Hold on. Oh, this is another one on New Orleans.
I've told y'all about New Orleans over and over and over again. The lore behind New Orleans is just chef's kiss. But I mentioned something about 2 years ago on this channel, and that was about New Orleans vanishing buildings. And now we're going to do a deep dive into them. Get your popcorn. Welcome back, YouTube. And for those who do not know me, hello, my name is Noah. And on this channel, we talk about death, true crimes, haunted people, places, and things, spiritual reparations, and how I had to go down a rabbit hole.
Content so this is what we are watching. If y'all hear me stirring stuff up, that's because I am in here filling the order, making my candles on my night off.
Y'all just listen to these videos because I was so into them, I almost poked my own eyeballs out.
Okay, the original post is gone, but I'm going to explain what they called card shuffling. This is a freaky phenomenon that happens in New Orleans, and I read in my comments somebody said that they experienced it also in Savannah, Georgia, where you're almost damn sure that you were just in a business or a bar or a shop, and later you find out that it never existed or it completely disappears, and a lot of people say that they've experienced this. New Orleans already has a rich history, culture, tradition, some of which is deeply rooted in the paranormal. So that tends to make New Orleans, and one of the most famous places in New Orleans, the French Quarter, a hotspot for paranormal activity, with people who are drawn to either experience their own paranormal activity or debunk it. So whether you're a believer or a skeptic, I think it's something that you have to experience yourself when you travel to New Orleans.
I've always been told never go to the end of Bourbon Street. And I really want to know if anybody else has any stories or experiences about them going to the end of Bourbon Street. I'm going to tell y'all mine. So recently we took a trip to New Orleans, which we go all the time. I'm from Mississippi, so that's like going around the corner for us. So we were on Bourbon Street and we were just walking, minding our business. And you know how you just get distracted? I knew we shouldn't be down there, but we make it to the end of Bourbon Street. It's like time slowed all the way down. And it was already eerie. I don't know if it was because it was Easter, but it's just like it got real weird real fast. So this is not funny, but I realized we were there and there was this mental person. He came like right up behind us. Like, why would you be scared of a mental person? But it was them, like him talking to himself coupled with the chill and just like, it was like a few people at the end of the street. And so I looked at my fiance and we both were like, no, let's turn around. And all I could do was hear my family like saying, never go down there. And an ignorant way that I've heard, people will be like, oh, don't go down there because that's where the gay people are. Gay people are not going to bother you. There's something supernatural going on. And I wasn't scared because like I'm a pretty like spiritually protected person, so that wasn't the problem. But when you know you need to get up out of somewhere, like I felt the angels and God being like, turn your ass around. Because I've heard people getting card shuffled really bad at the end of Bourbon Street. But I done got shuffled on Bourbon Street, but it wasn't that big of a deal because it wasn't life threatening. It was just a building that was there and then it wasn't there anymore. So I'm wondering, do you have any stories about the end of Bourbon Street, and can anybody like clarify what's going on down there?
So basically places around 3 a.m. in New Orleans, and some people in my comments said that this.
Okay, so basically the original creator is talking about how places in New Orleans and across the South do what's called a card shuffle, where you could literally be in a place and then it not exist later when you go back to it, or how it will exist like in a different area, whether it's on a different street or across the street or whatever. So I am here to double down on Sis's story, because let me tell you something. I went to New Orleans a few years back. I went for like a week. I stayed on Bourbon Street. And my first few days there, I was obviously like getting, my bearings about me, learning where everything was, whatever. So one night I go to this bar and they called it the Swamp House, I believe. Anyways, this bar was really cool. It played live music. It had like windows, but there was like no glass in the windows. From the street, I crawled up through one of the bar windows that was like on a platform. It like went onto a stage and I was dancing, and the girl who was like singing the live music saw me and she was dancing, and we were like having a little back and forth go moment. So anyways, I hang out there for a while. I had a really good time. I had a couple drinks and then I hopped out the window, same way I came back, and just kept walking down Bourbon Street, just discovering things and like mingling with the people. The people in New Orleans are so wonderful. It is my home away from home. Eventually the night comes to an end for me. I go back to my hotel, which is on Bourbon Street, crash out, whatever. And then the next day, I'm out exploring, go on this swamp tour, having a good time, whatever. I decide after walking around throughout the night that I wanted to go back to that bar because I had really good vibes. by this time I'm a few days into my trip, and so I have a very good idea of where the things are. And so I start walking down towards where I know this bar is. So I'm walking and I can't find it, and I think that's really odd. And so then I start asking people on the street, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this bar. It was called the Swamp House. Da da da. I explain it. And people that I'm coming across are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know that bar. And I want to reiterate that the people in New Orleans are so nice and very helpful. So the fact that they're telling me that they don't know about this bar or have never heard of this bar was a little odd. So whatever, I keep walking. I make it to the end and I don't see the bar. And so I'm like, okay. So I double down and I walk back and I still don't see the bar. And so I ask a really pretty lady, and she's all dressed up, New Orleans vibes. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this bar called the Swamp House. I went there the other night and it was such good vibes. This lady looks at me like I'm nuts, and she's like, yeah, there used to be that bar, but it's closed down. It hasn't been here in a long time. And I'm like, no, that's literally impossible. I just danced in the window the night before. So, I was there. I was definitely there. And she assures me that I was not there, that bar did not exist. And so I'm very confused. She takes me to where the bar was, and it's a different bar with an open floor plan, very New Orleans style. I am shitting my pants because I knew that bar was there. I knew I had drinks there. I knew I had this good time with some girl that was singing on stage. And I'm like, what the fuck? Anyways, I think that I must just be confused, even though I have a very good idea of where everything is at this point. And I'm like, you know what? I must be confused. I must have had a few too many drinks. Maybe I don't know. I chalk it up to I don't know. So I finish out my night. I go to a couple other bars, and then I go back to my hotel. So then it becomes the next night, and I'm out walking around again. I stop at a nice steakhouse. I have a nice dinner, whatever. Also, best steak I've ever had in my life. And I'm walking back down on the side of the street that the Swamp House bar was, and I come across it again. I could not for the life of me find that bar the night before, and she insisted that it didn't exist. I knew it did. And I just thought maybe she was confused. Maybe I was confused. I don't know. I thought maybe I got the name wrong. I don't know. But now on this new night, it's back. It's there. It's exactly as I remember it. There's live music again, and it's a different band, but it's the same window that I crawled through to get in and everything else. It is there. This has haunted me for years, since my first trip to New Orleans, because I was like, what the fuck happened? I must have been drunker than I thought. I mean, I was young, so I was partying. I've my rational brain has tried to rationalize this so many times in so many different ways, and I just could not figure it out until I came across her TikTok today, and she's explaining that other people talk about this phenomenon. So now I'm like, oh my God, is this what happened to me? This must have been what happened to me. The card shuffle must have happened, and for whatever reason, that one night it wasn't there, and then it was back. Glitch in the.
I would have thought I was going crazy personally. It's you're not telling me I seen something and then I didn't see it, then I go back and I see it again. Yeah, that's a little creepy.
Matrix, I don't know, but I do know that the South is a magical place, and I absolutely love it there. And yeah, just wild.
Have you heard of card shuffling in New Orleans, where they say places disappear and reappear? Okay, this happened to me, and I don't know what I believe about this, but what I know is that motherfucker was not there. Okay, so let me tell you, I went to Mardi Gras in 2017, and we stayed at this hotel on Canal Street, which is in the French Quarter. We go to the bars. On the way back from Bourbon Street, I stop and see this cute little cafe where I want to get some food, but they were closing up. But I looked at the menu and I was like, we're going to come here tomorrow for lunch. It was just right across the street from our hotel. Okay, so we go in, go to sleep. The next day, I come out to go there, and there's just a brick wall where there should be a door for the restaurant. And I'm like, that it looks where the restaurant was, but it's not there. And I'm like, it must be on the other side, you know? So I walked all around the hotel, walked all around that building, all around the box, could not find that motherfucking door again. And I guess this happens to everybody in New Orleans. So I don't fucking know.
These buildings literally will disappear on your ass. They will shuffle around. Some people have been to the same building in another part of the city. It's quite weird. And the fact that that lady, okay, let me tell you. I'm gonna give you my tea. So the first video where the lady said that she doesn't go to the end of Bourbon Street, I went to the end of Bourbon Street the first time that I ever went to New Orleans. And whenever I went, me and my husband, we walked, and we're like, oh, this is the end. We had never been there. We turned around and came back, and on the way, it felt like, for my husband, somebody was choking him. He literally could not breathe. We had to call an ambulance. And by the time we had got back to our hotel, which was at the beginning of the French Quarter of Bourbon Street, he was just fine. I promise. That shit scared me. And that 911 bill, that ambulance bill, I know I wasn't tripping. That shit happened. And he was perfectly fine. Okay? Perfectly fine. We walked, got to the end, we turned back around. It's just very weird. And this was like at 3 o'clock in the morning, y'all. Be careful. Y'all make sure if you go to the most beautiful city on earth, okay? Because it really is just that magical, that y'all protect yourselves. Because Bourbon Street, the French Quarters, it is a portal.
Every city has secret bars, but New Orleans has one that you're only invited to once. And if you accept, you might not come back. Let's have a talk. So this story was submitted to me by one of my followers, and he wishes to remain anonymous because this supposedly happened to him. And this is a supposed true story, so he kind of wants to fly under the radar. This story takes place back in 2001 when this 21-year-old guy became obsessed with finding a real, authentic speakeasy while living in New Orleans. None of that fake, trendy crap. He was looking for like the real deal, the stuff that people warn you about, right? So he got a job working in the quarter, and he would typically work late. And when he got off of work, he would spend his time before going home wandering the quarter in search of this speakeasy. Until one night, while on a chat forum, he got an email from an unknown sender. And the subject line read, "Secret Bar." And it said, pretty much, if you're looking for a journey, not afraid of hell, not too shy for heaven, be in Jackson Square at 2 a.m., wear a black shirt, gray pants, coffee in hand, and sit on the third bench. Come alone, tell no one, this is your only invitation. Well, he almost ignored it, but curiosity killed the cat, boredom won, and he accepted. So at 1:55 in the morning, he sat on the third bench in Jackson Square, coffee in hand, wearing what he was told to wear, and at exactly 2 a.m., the cathedral bells rang out, and someone tapped him on the shoulder from behind. A woman sat beside him, and she was calm, pale, and he said she had a very confident, demeanor about her. And she knew his name, she knew a little bit about him, and she told him that this was his first chance to back out. And if he wanted to walk away, now was the time. But he ignored it, and he followed her. And there was going to be no second invitation. But he didn't care, and he went with her. They walked past Bourbon Street, past the music, past all the tourists, past everything, and into the dark and into the quiet part of the quarter they went. So she stopped at this normal-looking house, and he said it was nothing really out of the ordinary. It wasn't creepy looking, but when they went inside, it was empty. There was no furniture, no sound, no lights. There was nothing, except at the end of this long hallway was an elevator, and the only direction it went was down. And she warned him one more time. She said, "Hey, this is your final chance. Are you sure?" He didn't care. He stepped inside, and the elevator descended far longer than it should have. He said it felt like forever. The wood turned to stone, and the air grew really, really heavy the deeper they went. Like it was almost hard to breathe, he said. When the doors opened, heat slammed into him like a brick wall, he said. And at the end of this narrow hallway sat a single door. And behind it was the bar. It was small, it was silent, it was dim. And he was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. But there was no music, there was no labels on the bottles, no cash register. And the bartender, when he walked in, just simply smiled and said, "Hey, welcome to hell." And this guy laughed it off. He's like, "Oh, this is what I've been looking for." He was really excited. Then the bartender asked, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And the menu was oddly simple. The only things on the menu were regret, loneliness, and damnation. And he's like, oh, that's weird. So he goes, you know what? I have it in my life. There are things that I regret. I want a bottle of regret. And the moment that he took his first sip, he realized that this wasn't a bar at all, because the customers weren't drinking for fun. They were actually suffering. And he noticed it. And one of them looked at him and quietly whispered to him, hey, leave while you can. There's a bar in Louisiana that's there one night and gone the next. Let's talk about it. I came across this story on a forum where people share their unexplained experiences, and what really caught my attention was that more than 3 people had spoken about this exact same situation. The story was posted by a girl named Jasmine, and it was a few years ago. She was in Baton Rouge working on a work trip, and she was sharing a hotel room with one of her coworkers. And on their last night in town, they decided to go out and get some drinks, and they ended up meeting these 2 guys. Jasmine at the time had a boyfriend, but her coworker was really hitting it off with this one guy, so she really wanted to go out. So Jasmine decided to go along with them. The guys were polite, charming, and dressed strangely like turn of the century. At some point, they asked the girls if they wanted to go to this bar where only locals know and go to, and that they would drive so they wouldn't need to worry about an Uber. But you know, Jasmine was kind of hesitant because, like I said, she had a boyfriend. They're in an unknown area. They don't know the guys, but her coworker was really hitting it off with this one guy. So Jasmine did decide to go. But she also decided to give her boyfriend her location just in case something happened and somebody knew where she was. As they drove, the city of Baton Rouge kind of just faded behind them. It got really dark, more rural, and it was about 30 minutes in when Jasmine realized that they weren't anywhere near Baton Rouge anymore. They kept taking like all these back roads, but the guy seemed completely comfortable, so she just was like, whatever. Eventually, they pulled up to this small building. It was in the middle of nowhere on the edge of the woods, and it just had dimly lit lights on the inside. There was a convenience store across the street, so again, they didn't think much of it. Inside, the guys seemed to know everybody. They're shaking hands, slapping each other on the back. Everybody was really friendly, but also that's when Jasmine noticed that something was off about the place. Everyone in there was dressed like they were from another time period. The women were wearing long dresses, button-up blouses, pleated skirts. The men were dressed like the 2 guys that they were with, just like very Victorian era type of clothing for the men and the women. And at first she thought it was like a theme bar, or you know, they were having a theme that night. But the longer that she looked around, the stranger she kind of felt. The lighting was really dim inside. It was like almost candlelit. There were no TVs, no neon signs, no radios playing. There was nothing modern. Smoke filled the room. Not that that's unheard of, but we don't really see that too much today. People were openly smoking, and almost everyone in there was drinking from like a really old, thick glass, like kind of like cocktail glasses that we really don't see anymore. The girls did not fit in at all whatsoever. And everybody kept staring at them like they did not belong. At the bar, when they got up there, Jasmine didn't really want to drink, but she did want to order something, so she ordered a Coca-Cola. The bartender looked at her and was like, I have no idea what that is. Her friend ended up asking for a flavored vodka, and the bartender was like, yeah, I still have no idea what that is. He suggested Sazerac, and everybody agreed. And the 2 guys that they were with paid in cash, but